It's not just the machine that wins races, it's the systems behind the team. Today, we're talking about how digital task management systems are changing the game for race teams and small businesses alike, and how to streamline your own workflows, whether you're using modern tools or sticking to old school methods.
Welcome back to Full Throttle Finance, a financial literacy podcast where we break down complex financial topics into practical, relatable conversations. I am Felicia, and I am your CEO here at Clean Bee Consulting.
And I'm Allie, the senior bookkeeper here. Whether you're running a race program or just getting your business off the ground, we're here to help you make small shifts that drive better financial performance. Last week, we shared some behind the scenes changes we're making with our software stack, mainly switching away from QuickBooks because QuickBooks is raising the prices again. Yep. The takeaway was if your tools aren't working for you anymore, it's okay to pivot. And that's going to lead perfectly into what we're talking about today, which is task management systems. We're going to talk about why having one matters, how we use them, and how it all ties into staying organized and efficient, whether you're in the office or on the racetrack. So let's talk logistics. A good task management system lets you assign tasks, set due dates, track progress, and helps us all collaborate in one place. This means fewer things slipping through the cracks.
Exactly. And it doesn't just improve your internal communications either. It also helps reduce burnout and helps with decision fatigue when it comes to both your employees and yourself as a management or a leadership team. When everyone knows exactly what they're responsible for and when it's due, and two, sometimes the workflow that helps you get from point A to point B, right? It creates the space to think strategically instead of constantly working from a state of just reaction after reaction. It also gives managers a space where they can still stay in the know about everything that's going on within their organization or between, the starting and the ending points on project submissions without having to actually micromanage their employees.
100%. And my first experience with a task management system was when we worked together for the first time at our previous job.
Yeah.
Before that, I was working in restaurants and at PetSmart, and at those kind of jobs, they don't have task management systems. I mean, I think PetSmart had a piece of paper that had tasks that we were supposed to do throughout the week, but nobody was checking them. It was not really a thing that you did.
No.
So, when I started at that company and they were like, oh, we have a task management system on the computer and no, you're not allowed to use pencil and paper. I was like, what in the world? Because, coming from school, you used to write all your notes down. And so going to this company and they're like, no pen and paper, just task management system. I was like, this is a huge change. But I would say that it made a world of difference. When you think about something and you go, well, it's going to take me longer than a minute or two, I'm going to pop it into my task management system. And now I'm going to set a due date and I'll come back to it when I have time when I'm working on that kind of project. And I just feel like it helps you forget a lot less and helps you really stay on track of the things that need to be done.
Yeah, I think that's crazy, right? Not only did they have a no talking policy in the office,
Literally.
But they also had a no pen and paper policy at the office. Which, just like you, Allison, I had very similar experiences leading up to when we both started working at that company together. I worked for companies like Walmart and Expedia and, Hilton Hotels and some power sport dealerships too. And, at Walmart, they had training modules that you had to actually sit in the office with HR to complete that would tell you how to do all of these tasks. But at that point, this is almost 2 decades ago, they didn't have a task management system back then. I think they have implemented one since at Walmart because they've probably seen the value of telling their employees exactly what they need to do, when to do it, and how to do it. But, 2 decades ago when I was running a store overnight, there was no manual on how to do it. Somebody taught you once and you just figured it the fuck out, to be quite
Yep.
to be quite frank. But Expedia and Hilton, they were a little bit different because those were sales type positions. So Again, you're trained on the processes, but nothing really like this is how you do it until it came to like maybe some of the paperwork. But again, still, it was like, this is how we do it, but there's not like a written core, like
A
reference.
checklist that you have
Exactly.
every day. Yeah.
Exactly. And in dealerships, you would think that there would be a process with that because you're dealing with like all of these like legal documents, like binding legal documents, you know? But I was surprised at the small, they were smaller dealerships, so that might be part of it. But like, I got taught once, like, these are the forms that we have to go and we have to get signed. Here's the filing cabinet with the carbon copies for you. Do it. And that's that.
Yeah.
So, those are all various sized organizations and businesses in a bunch of different industries too, right? Retail, hospitality, and power sports, or like equipment vehicle sales. But they all kind of had the same problems. Like, there was no like formal structure and like, this is how you do what you need to do. I was introduced to task management systems in 2015 at pretty much the exact same time that you were, and like, I've never looked back, just like you. They've been essential for me and a non-negotiable for 10 years. Like, you have to have it no matter what, in my opinion.
100%. And, as a listener, they may be wondering what kind of tasks I should be putting in my task management system. And it is everything from like every tiny little thing that you can think of, put it in there. You may actually remember from a previous podcast, Felicia talked about putting literally cleaning her desk in there. So, like, when we say everything, it can be especially as a CEO, as someone who's running the business and you have a lot of tasks on your plate, cleaning your desk is something as simple as that on your task management system. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. I have check certain because, we manage probably upwards of 25 different email accounts. So I have a task for each of those on the frequency in which I need to check them. I have tasks for cleaning desks. I have tasks for big things like month-end projects. So it's like, it's the little and it's the small. It's whatever you need to let you know that you need to do something and when you need to get it done by.
Well, and it's easy to forget the small things. It's important to have those, like I use mine primarily for like month end close. So I'll do like, weekly bookkeeping and month end close. And sometimes maybe I didn't remember to pull the statements or something to that effect. And since I have a task for it, I now remember to do it, which is why we do what we do.
Right.
And sometimes even Felicia will drop in, a weird project or a different project that I don't normally do on me. And since I only do it maybe once a month, I'll drop in all the links, I'll drop in all the comments. And now when I go to it once a month, I can pull up that Dropbox link and it's all there. So
Yep.
it's amazing.
Yep. My general rule of thumb is if it's something that can be resolved in 2 minutes or less, I typically will sit down and just do it in that 2 minute window. But if it's going to take me longer than 2 minutes, it's not worth my time to derail myself right now because it's probably not that urgent. And so it goes into the task management system so that I can assign a due date, like you said, put all the details in there, and I'll reference it when I have the brain space to come back and actually sit down and do that work instead of trying to cram it into 2 minutes or it taking longer than 2 minutes and it derailing me from the rest of my tasks that I have for the rest of the day. It's just super helpful. That's a rule of thumb that I go by. And I also like to keep inbox zero. And Allison, you're familiar with what inbox zero is, just like I am, because that company that we work for always strive. We had to hit inbox zero before we left at the end of the day, right? We always had to have no emails in there. So I still work from that brain space.
I do too.
And it's really great because it doesn't mean that I'm like completing the task at that time, but I put it in the task management system, right? It's going to get taken care of when I have the actual brain capacity and the time to sit down and do it. But then it's not just something that's sitting in my email, overwhelming me, waiting for me to get to. Like, I have all of the nuggets in the task management program that's ready to go for when I've assigned to do that task in the future because it is not something I can complete in 2 minutes or less right now.
I feel like that helps with avoidance. You look at it and you're like, man, that seems daunting. But if you'll just drop everything in a task management system, when you get there, everything is there. And now it feels less daunting.
Yeah,
So
it's one less burden.
Mm-hmm.
And I also use our task management system. Like, I think you use yours a little bit differently than I use mine, probably. And I've worked with employees in the past that use their task management system differently than I do. But one of the things that I took away from that prior company that we used to work at together was scheduling out chunks of time for your tasks so that you don't overcommit each day with what you actually can fit into your work schedule too, right? So, I use our task management system to actually not only just assign a date, but I assign a due time as well too on our tasks so that I can group all of our similar client work together so that it's like I get here and I do one client's work and I get all of their work done. But like if I'm like payroll, where I'm doing payroll for 5 different clients on one day, like I will stack those tasks on top of each other, even though they're not the same client, just to group that work together. So that way my brain's already on payroll. I don't have to switch from payroll to month end to bookkeeping back to
So smart.
payroll, this and that. So, I get super granular with my tasks and not only assigning a date, but also a due time, which helps me stay on track and get less overwhelmed with the like analysis paralysis of like, what do I do next in my job? And so obviously this all sounds really admin-y, and you might be asking, well, how does that even correlate to motorsports? And the answer is it absolutely correlates to motorsports. When you look at big teams in motorsports, like let's say Formula One racing, our pinnacle of racing motor in motorsports, they use electronic task management tools to make sure that their team stays on track, right? In Formula One, every single team operates with a minute by minute schedule for the entire weekend. This includes pit strategy, it includes tire management, it includes hospitality, media, logistics, tech, you name it. They all follow a very structured plan throughout the entire weekend from point A to point B. This level of coordination is only possible with task management systems that assign the responsibilities, the deadlines, and the dependencies across all of the different departments, because it's one big orchestrated show, right? So that there's no big surprises when day of or weekend of actually comes to play, right?
Well, and I think you said it right. It's a production. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So why would every tiny little detail not be completely scheduled out? Because everything kind of has to hit a certain little deadline.
Yeah,
So
you look at ballet, you look at theater, you look at all of that, like there's timestamps for when people need to be backstage. There's timestamps for when the lights need to change. There's timestamps for when music cues need to go, costume changes. Like all of that is orchestrated, and it's very similar to running a business. It's very similar to motorsports. You know, think about like real-time updates during a race weekend too. If the weather changes, that information gets passed through all of their communication systems instantly. Whether it's how to just unload the trailer at the track or how to respond to marketing PR crises or nightmares or stressors or whatever, teams use something that's called standard operating procedures that they store in digital databases so people can reference on the go, which is what we do with our task management system, right? We have all of our processes documented. They're all linked in our task management system. So when it comes time to actually do that task, you click on the link, you go to the workflow, you go to the SOP, and you work your way through the SOP. And you have all of the tools that you need to do your job right then and there. These types of systems allow for fast onboarding, role clarity, reduced errors. It's super essential for high pressure environments, especially those in the motorsport industry. And so, like, think about that a little bit more too. Like, imagine you brought in a new crew member during a race week. Like, they didn't get the formal onboarding at the beginning of your season. You had to bring them in mid season because you needed extra hands. If your procedures are not documented and accessible easily, then you're just setting them up to fail. Or you're setting them
yeah.
up to ask you 1,000,001 questions, which is going to time suck from you and your valuable time that needs to be spent doing other things out at the racetrack too. And after every single Formula One race, the teams conduct debriefs. They talk about what worked for them, what didn't work for them, and how to optimize everything for their strategy next time. So those reflections, sometimes they're on a list, in a handwritten list, because maybe that's what that person prefers in a meeting setting. But I guarantee you they always are tracked and put into a task management system to make sure that the follow-ups get assigned and that the deadlines are hit, so that they can make those future improvements out on the track before the next track round comes around. And project management tools help track the review process and to assign the follow-ups on these changes too, right? Like, it might not just be, this is the change, I've implemented, it's done. It might be, this is the change, this is how it affected things. It could be good, it could be bad. Let's try both of them. What's the outcomes of those? And then we make a final decision, right? It's not just A, B, C. It's A, B, B1, B2, B11, B22, kind of like,
I love it.
it can spider web and it can mushroom pretty quickly. And so that's what a project management and a task management program will do for you. It tracks all of that information in one place so that you can stay on track. And even grassroots or national level teams can benefit from a simplified task management program. It doesn't need to be a full-blown Formula One professional race team. It can be a go-kart track team. It can be a dirt bike team. It can be a Moto America motorcycle racing team. If you have systems and if you have processes and you want people to do them in a certain way, you can benefit from a task management system, plain and
And
system.
I would almost argue that creating a task management system for your smaller team can help you perform better and grow more as a more professional team, because now you're creating processes and you're creating workflow.
Yeah, there's no confusions, right? Everyone knows what they're
Mhm.
doing on race day or on race weekend because they've rehearsed it, they've assigned it, they've looked at the workflows in advance, they know exactly what they've got to do. The tech team doesn't need to wonder about when they're going to talk about diagnostics, and the media team doesn't have to figure out when they're going to chase writers for interviews, because it's all scheduled, it's all planned, it's all thoughtfully constructed in advance and easily accessible for everyone. You don't need a 50-person crew out at the track to justify using a task management system. You honestly just need the willingness to stop keeping it all in your head. And we're Clean Bee Consulting, and this is the Full Throttle Finance program, right? Like, part of the services that we offer clients that they might not realize that we do is that we can help you take these systems and takes these workflows that you do manually out of the track, all of the stuff that lives in your head. We can take all of that and we can put it and build a task management system process for you. We can build these SOPs. We can build these documented processes for you. That is the consulting
100%.
part of what we do, right? We're not just bookkeepers. We understand systems, we understand workflows, we understand processes, we understand efficiencies, and we understand accuracies. And all of those things are very important in the motorsport realm too. So if you're listening and you're still working off checklists out at the track and a pen and a clipboard, or if you don't even have that and you're out at the track and you're just winging it and you're tired of winging it, this is your sign that we should probably get on a consulting call.
So, to piggyback off of last week's episode, we talked about our software stack and the current softwares that we are currently using or transitioning to. Personally, I've only used Asana and Notion, but there are more. Felicia, would you like to talk about the other softwares that you've used for task management systems?
Yep. I love Asana because it's great for teams who need clear project timelines, and the fact that there's different ways that you can view the project depending upon what your role is in the project. If you are somebody who's nitty gritty doing all the work, or if you're somebody who's top level, just needs to see how the overall production is coming together. It's great for different levels of management or employee, I'd say, and for visibility. It's super awesome. Notion is also customizable, but I find Notion to be very, very overwhelming. It's too plain texty with too much creativity, if that makes sense. Like, it's not the sensory system that works best for me. ClickUp is robust, but in my opinion, it's overcomplicated for a task management system, and that overwhelmingness kind of deterred me away from using it for our own firm, to be honest. Trello is very simple. It's a drag and drop style project management system, so it's good for people who are like visual thinkers. Workcast is great because it integrates with a lot of programs like Slack, but so does Asana. And Workcast again is like it's very I find that Workcast limits you a lot more than projects like Asana or project management tools like Asana do. So Workcast is kind of up there, but I don't like love it. And then another one that I've used is Carbon, which is designed specifically for accounting firms, and I will tell you, I hate it with all of my fibers of and being with everything inside of me. It is not my favorite. It is not user friendly. I don't know what kind of accountant made that platform, but is not the one for us. So
Well, and right now we're transitioning to a new tool called Count, which I'm sure you heard us talk about last week. It brings the accounting and task management systems into one space, which we think is going to be so cool. And we're so excited to get all of our work in it. While we're still rolling it out, the vision is to streamline our financial workflows with our operational ones. So it's just going to be cool to put everything in one place. And
yeah,
we're just excited to get it going on it.
I'm a big fan, especially within organizations where you have multiple people working on things, of having one source of truth. Like one place that you go that tells you where everything else is or like links you out to all the things that you need. And that's what's been missing, I feel like, in our firm for a bit now, is that we have things in different places, not too many places, but it's like if I need this, I got to go here. If I need that, I got to go there. And that's the point of Count, is bridging that gap. As accountants, the work that we do for our clients is directly related with a lot of the tasks in our tax management program. And for us, we do project tracking. So we need to know each month how long it takes to do each of those tasks, right? And what workflows are involved in that client's retainer that makes up what they pay us every single month, right? And so that's the whole idea behind Count, is that all of those tasks that we're putting in, they're going to be directly linked to one of our clients and our financial reporting system, which is also going to be linked to a project for that specific month scope of work that we're performing. So it takes all, and it's linked with our time tracking too. So it's going to literally take the task and connect it to the client in one system. It's going to take the client and attach it to our time in the same system. And so now we've just created this triangle of information all in one system.
Beautiful triangle.
Right? When they were in 3 different systems before that we had to like all kind of integrate and pull together, right?
Well, yeah, because I think at the current moment you're working mostly out of Asana, out of Dropbox, out of QuickBooks, maybe out of Slack. And so if it's all just in one system.
And while you're going through the bookkeeping too, right? When you have a question about a client's transaction, you actually get to tag me directly in our accounting software, which is also our task management software. And so all of that information is now in a centralized place. You don't even need to go to Slack to communicate to me, because you'll tag me
right there
in the management system and I'll get a notification and I'll know to go in and respond. And then you have the answers to that question right there in the same spot, instead of having to reference back to another spot to get that information that you need. So it seems simple when you talk about it on paper, but when you actually sit down and map all these things out, that's where you're like, oh, wait, no, this spider web isn't actually like this big, right? This spider web is like, when you zoom in on it, it's got all of these intricate little lines along the way that make up the full web. And that's exactly what a task management system should do for you, which is also part of why we offer that service to our clients, right? Like that gives people back time, and time is something that you can't really put a value to, but it takes less brain power to even like think about where we need to go for certain pieces of information, right? Like everything is in one place. And for us who are like juggling over 25 clients at one, that streamline effect is super important for us. And if you want to think about it in motorsport terms, when you're managing a team that's got like maybe 15 different people on your crew and they're all doing different things underneath your tent, it's very similar to how we operate as an accounting firm. And so that's why mapping out all of these processes and getting them in an electronic database, getting them to where they're accessible for people in a quick fast-paced environment like at the track is super important, and that's why we offer those services to clients.
I think that this is a great place to wrap things up. If you are listening and you feel like your current systems or lack thereof systems are holding you back, this is your sign to take action. Whether it's digital tools or physical checklists, start somewhere. And if you want help building out a system that is customized to your team or business, that's what we're here for. Reach out. We would love for you to schedule a consultation. Visit www.cleanbeeconsulting.com/full throttle finance. That's CLEANBEE consulting.com. And if you found today's insights valuable, please like, share, subscribe, do all the things to help show support for what we're doing here at Full Throttle Finance. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next Friday as we continue to break down finances with a motorsport twist.
Bye.
See ya.